Ho, ho, ho. Hello, everyone. This is Terrence with Hollywood Already Did It. And today I'm going to do a bit of a love letter, a PSA or a request to the director of Rise of the Skywalker, Mr. J.J. Abrams. And I'll get into it right after the jump. So if you haven't already, you can hit like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know about it. We are on that road to 100. We're getting there. We're moving along. So once we get there, we'll start doing some contests, giveaways, and having some fun in the channel, all right? Now let's talk to JJ. So this isn't going to be a review of Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker. I've already done that. It's in the podcast. You can find that here on YouTube. You can find that on the Spotify, all the digital providers. You can find it there. And also, if you haven't watched Rise of the Skywalker, I would probably go ahead and tune out of this because there will be some spoilers that I will be getting into as we go along. But I just wanted to talk to Mr. Abrams about the handling of Star Wars post-release. You have gone on to explain and expound upon things that very well should have been answered within your own film in post-film Q&A sessions or interviews or press conferences or things that other people who have dealt with the film or have done with the film have done since the movie's released. And my biggest thing for me is that I should not leave the theater with so many questions that I have to be answered by them post leaving the theater. It's the old mystery box stuff that you're Mr. Abrams are so familiar with Lost and a lot of things you work with. It doesn't quite work when you're doing it with the finale of a climax of an entire series. Now, be clear, I think the movie's fine. I don't love it, I don't hate it. It's somewhere in the middle of my entire Star Wars ranking. So this isn't a bashing of the film. It's just this movie is sloppy in storytelling and leaves a lot of things that I think are on the cutting room floor or leave for interpretation or, in this case, leave for you to tell us after the fact. Since leaving the theater, however, I found out the following things. One, spoilers, the Palpatine return. It bothers me in the fact that this is a character that we saw murdered on film. And if you're going to bring him back on film, you need to go out of your way to explain it to me in film. You can't just do a throwaway line and say, oh, dark science and clones, and I'm supposed to accept it. If he was killed in film, I need him to be resurrected on film, and I can't have it been given to me in some supplemental form of media, like a comic book or a cartoon or a video game. Yes, a video game. Apparently, for this reveal, there is a distress signal that is placed in the middle of Fortnite. I'm not making this up. Check this out.
At last the work of generations is complete. The great error is corrected. The day of victory is at hand. The day of revenge. The day of the Sith.
Yeah. Two, what this film does a lot is it speeds through things. The first 45 minutes of the movie goes so quick that you can't really get a grasp of anything. Emperor's back, cool, just go with it. Lando's back, Lando's been stuck on this planet. Wait, before we move on, can we ask? Nope, gotta keep moving. And that bothers me. I'm a person who needs to kind of get some information. I think this movie could have worked a little bit better had it taken a moment to breathe and just explain some things. Even if you could have your running time go to like 3 hours, and I know that might be not something that Disney wanted, but I think it would have served this film well to kind of take a little bit more time to explain some things. Plus, if you're the finale of a franchise, why can't you do that? I mean, Endgame. But that's neither here nor there. In this film, Lando says that he was stuck on this planet, not stuck, but he was placed on this planet for years after he and Luke had done some missions, and Luke just disappeared and went away. And he's just been there. Luke's been gone a while. Luke's had enough time to be exiled from the Jedi and do his own thing. So you've just been hanging out here? Why, Lando? That's a curious thing. I'd like to know more about that. Turns out, if you get the Star Wars book, you'll know all about it. Well, what they say is that Lando has been on the search for his long-lost child, who he has had, who is aware of, but has lost contact with and has lost, and is now on a way to find them. So that makes the look that Lando gives at the end of this film to Janna a little bit less creepy as old man, like, oh, let's go get some Colt 45s, and more like, you could be my child, which I hate. Like, this world consistently gets smaller, and it seems like it gets smaller the more that JJ plays with it. Sorry. When Ryan was playing with it, he said that anybody could be a Jedi, and the fact that she was a nobody helped a little bit, and saying that this world can grow. This world can be more than just Skywalker, Skywalker, Skywalker. This film says, yeah, that's true, Skywalker, but it could also be a Palpatine. So this massive galaxy is now just tied to two family lines, unless you're black. Because if you're black, you're only the Calrissian bloodline. That's it. All the black characters in Star Wars are related somehow. I mean, I'm so glad that Finn and Janna never kissed, because I'm sure they are 100% first cousins. All the black families are from one bloodline. Well, I mean, unless Mace decided to birth a kid that no one ever knew about, but that would be silly. Yeah. Well, I mean, as a friend of the Hollywood Already Did It has stated to me, the white folks aren't that far behind. They all seem to be related too. Who knows? 3, Finn, this movie has a hanging participle of Finn trying to tell Rey something. While they're sinking, there's a moment where he says, I need to tell you something. And it's like, oh my God, what could this possibly be? Most audience people think it's a matter of him saying how much he loves her, because that would be something that is embarrassing to say in front of other people. But why, if you're dying and you come back and say, like, cool, I'll tell you when we're alone. But JJ has gone on record to say that it is about Finn telling her that he is force sensitive. Why the fuck is that a secret? You didn't say that anywhere. Like, hey, guess what, Rey? Guess what, Poe? I got the force. You could literally say that anywhere. There are so many times that Finn and Rey are alone in this film that you could literally just say that, or that you're just around the rest of the group. Hell, while C-3PO is getting fixed, guess what, guys? Yeah, that's not that big of a secret for you to hold on to it to the end of the film, and something that I need to have revealed after the credits have rolled. JJ, if that's the secret, if that's the thing, tell it to me in the movie. It's not that big of a deal, and it's definitely not something that the film should climax and finish without me getting that insignificant of a thing told to us. We sort of already know that from what we've seen in Force Awakens. Why? And lastly, a thing that I absolutely hated in the film was the Reylo kiss at the very end of the film. Because I didn't think it was necessary, but I know a lot of fan fiction sites have shipped those two characters together. Cool. You got your wish. I think it's completely unnecessary, and it doesn't fit into anything that we knew there was a tension going in between them. Some of it may have been romantic, but according to JJ, it's a brother-sister thing. So wait, I'm a bit confused. You're saying that they're not romantic. It's more of a brother or sister thing. But the way they kissed is unlike the way any brother or sister should ever kiss. I mean, unless you're Luke and Leia. Now, this seems to be a recurring thing. I think I might allow this one. Fine. Look, JJ, you've made a perfectly fine film. It is not flawless. It is sloppy. It's clear that you had to cut some things out to make something that kind of sped along and felt more like a Star Wars way that you knew. I'm a fan of yours. I like Mission Impossible. I like both Star Trek. I love both Star Treks that you've done. But I do think you fall into this category of the mystery box stuff that sometimes Lindelof gets into, where you ask more questions and ponder more questions and put more threads out there than you actually have time to answer. When you're dealing with the climax or the finale of a Star Wars film, that is not fun for anybody. That leaves us all kind of leaving the theater saying, that was cool, but I'm confused. Like, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense. And you don't need to answer all those questions, but if you're pondering or positing the questions within that film, they need to be answered. Just don't posit them. Or either take the time to do so. And I think the worst thing is, like I've talked about at the beginning, I don't want any film I have to go to supplemental things to understand your film. But what's even worse to me is when the director and writer of that said film has to explain away things post film release. It's not a good look. Just stop. So my request to you, JJ, your film's out there. You're not going to make it any worse. You're not going to make it any better. It is what it is. But you are sort of tarnishing the concept or conceit of your movie if you keep over-explaining the things that we did not get in said film. They're never going to exist in film unless you give us a director's cut, which I might actually be interested in that. But this film right here is what it is. So I ask, as we go into the holidays, as the new year comes around, my New Year's resolution is I don't ever really want to hear you talk about this film as far as what you wanted to put in or what this meant. If you want to talk about your accomplishments or your time with it, cool. But please, I ask, I beg, just stop talking about this film. It is what it is. We'll all be better for it. But that's all I got for now, guys. If you want to hit us up on email, you can hit us up on HollywoodAlreadyDid@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. We also have a podcast by the same name that is on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that plays podcasts. This last episode, we talked about said film, Rise of the Skywalker, which, while it sounds like here I don't like the film, you can listen to it all there, but I actually do think it's a fine film. I don't love it. I love Last Jedi, and I really like Force Awakens. This film just has story problems that, as I've expounded upon here, should have been answered within the film. But listen to that. It's an hour long with my co-host, Blake Schultz. But like always, I got my ticket. You got yours?